Welcome to Tribe Talk. You're here with Laura Neal.
I'm Rachel Evans.
And today we're talking about 5 mistakes practitioners make that damage trust with children.
So even with the best intentions, practitioners can still get some things wrong. So today we're going to walk you through 5 common mistakes that practitioners often make when working with children.
Mistake number 1 is talking more than listening.
Yes, I think this comes up quite a lot when we're trying to fill in the gaps, like practitioners are trying to fill the silence.
Yeah, we actually talk about this a lot in life story listening, our training, because it is really difficult to sit there with the silence or give the child space to respond.
Yeah.
And I think often as practitioners, we're trying to fill that space, or we're trying to talk so the child feels comfortable when we need to be comfortable with silences ourselves.
Yeah, I think that it is so important because it's uncomfortable for us to kind of sit in that silence, and it is coming from more of a place of trying to make sure that the child is comfortable and they don't have to fill the awkward silences. But if we, let's just say, over talk and not give that opportunity to talk to us and we listen, then we're just kind of filling in the gaps. And children don't feel like they can bring anything to that conversation.
And if we do just listen, we allow that space for them to actually come out with things that maybe they wouldn't have told us otherwise. But where it breaks trust is if you were going to see a child and you were the talker, so you're talking, and you might come away and you might think, that was a really good visit, or that was a really good appointment or meeting. I really got a lot out of that. But what did the child get out of that? Because does the child feel listened to? Does the child feel like you know them, or does the child just feel like you talked over them?
Yeah, and also feel like you're telling them what to do.
Yeah.
In some respects, whereas you're not coming from that place, and you know, at all. But you're just trying to get through that visit and get through what you want to see, but not giving them that opportunity to bring something that they want to bring to the conversation. So it's just like one of those traps, I think, which people can easily fall into, practitioners can easily fall into.
I think so, and I think in many contexts as well. So it could be in school, it could be social worker doing a visit, or therapy sessions as well. Like, you get a lot out of a therapy session because there's lots of talking going on. But again, what does the child get out of that? So always thinking, am I talking too much?
So in the life story listening training, Laura, what tips do you kind of give practitioners and parents, I know that, and carers that come on to that, to be more of an active listener?
Yeah, so you could ask more open questions, be comfortable with silences, as we've said, and little prompts we find really helpful as well. So if there's things that you know the child might want to talk about, you might give a little prompt, show curiosity, but then almost take a step back and don't say very much. The silence gives them that opportunity. The prompt introduces the topic, then the silence gives the opportunity for them to talk.
I suppose in some respects as well, you could say to a child, I can see that this conversation is a little bit uncomfortable for you, or I'm noticing this about your presentation. Let's just take 5 minutes to just sit and be like, none of us need to talk until you're ready. So it takes that pressure off them a little bit, and you're offering them to join the conversation when they're ready. So mistake number 2 is practitioners not doing what they've promised or said that they were going to deliver on. So some examples of that, just saying that we're going to do a visit and then don't show up for that visit, or I'm going to take you to this contact session, and it's not you that's doing that, or something's cancelled last minute. That can be disheartening for children, and really breaks down that trust between, you're not saying what you mean and mean what you say. You're maybe not turning up or not communicating why you haven't delivered.
And I think just not following through on the activities that you say you're going to do. So just thinking back to my days as a social worker, a huge challenge with social workers is getting children passports. But if you go and you say, I'm going to get you a passport, and then you don't do it, that's a huge break of trust. But I think that translates to so many different situations. I'm going to find out this piece of information for you, and you don't do it. I'm going to visit you on this day, and you don't do it. I'm going to go and speak to school because you've got this problem, and you don't do it. It is really following through on everything that you say you're going to. And if you cannot follow through, then don't say it in the first place.
Yeah. And that's what we practice in our therapy sessions. I'm just thinking back to when we're doing some life story sessions with children, and part of that introduction into those sessions is I'm going to try and be that investigator to find out all this information about your life, but I cannot promise I'm going to find everything or answer all of your questions. I am just the investigator, and I will try my best. So we're not promising that we will absolutely be able to answer all of their questions, because obviously that is reliant on the information being there in the first place. So it's just being very careful, isn't it, with our language when we are making or saying to children that we can deliver on something when we're not 100% sure that we can.
And I think if we think of the majority of children who've experienced any type of adverse childhood experience or early life trauma, they've had so many people who've broken promises to them or haven't done what they say they're going to do, so they expect you not to do it. So the minute you go in there as a practitioner and you don't follow through, the trust is broken.
Yeah, and that's another person to then to reinforce that internal core belief of I can't trust any adult because when they say they'll do something, they never do it.
And then the impact is even more significant than I didn't do that thing that I said I was going to do, but it was only a one-off. The impact is huge.
Yeah, the impact is huge. So that is another common mistake that practitioners can fall into if we're not delivering on what we've said. It can really break trust with the children that we're supporting.
Yeah. So mistake number 3 then, and this is when you came up with, Rachel, is not planning for any transitions properly. And when you said this, I was thinking about transitions between homes, transitions between schools would be another one. If you're a therapist, transitioning from one therapist to another, or from one therapy centre to another therapy centre. It can be any transition.
Yeah, this comes up so much, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Across all of those different examples. And I think this comes up more often than not because everything's just so fast paced.
Yeah.
If you just take placement, for example, so a child moving from one foster placement to another, there's a bit of a process in between that where you've got to identify a placement, see if there's a match, and then make introductions and all of that. But sometimes it's so fast paced, and we're not giving the child a chance to be part and prepare for that transition. And
school, we're just coming up to the end of the year now, so school is another one. So if a child is transitioning from junior school into comprehensive school, those transitions need to be planned. They need to be planned far more for children who've experienced trauma, but they should be planned for all children, and allowing those days when they can go and visit and see what it's going to be like. But they need information, they need to be involved. Yeah. So all of the children that I'm working with currently, even if they're moving into a different class, I'm having those conversations with school like 2 months ago. Yeah. Like, when are we planning this in? Because they might be going to a different part of the school, and it's like, what do I do with my bag? Where's the nearest toilet? Who's my teacher going to be? Are my peers going to be following me into my next lesson? What are the lessons going to be like? And I've got a little one at the moment who is moving from more of like a foundation phase setting into a setting where you have to sit and concentrate. So that transition is massive for children, and if we're not communicating that to the child and preparing them for that, we're setting them up for failure. More often than not, we need to provide that time to prepare. Children need that time to prepare, and we need to communicate what that looks like to them. Or you'll find that in September they come back and you're already on the back foot because they don't trust it's not even one person. They don't trust the school in those circumstances, or if they've moved home, they don't trust the people they're now living with. If they've moved therapists, they don't trust the new therapist because their previous therapist didn't transition them properly. It applies in all circumstances.
Yeah, I know we really carefully plan if we're transitioning to therapists, if a practitioner has completed an assessment for a child, but then a different therapist needs to then support. That is thoroughly planned, and we have those overlap sessions, so the child gets used to, and there's time to build rapport, because that is so important, isn't it? When we're working with children, to give them that time to prepare. But I think it sticks out more, and why I came up with that mistake is when children are moving homes, because we see it in the conversations we have with children. They have so many misconceptions. Then there's a lack of trust with adults, and they just get really confused later on in life. Then what happened when?
What happened when? Whose fault was it? Of course it was my fault, because nobody told me it was happening, and then I had to move it.
Brings up so much for them, doesn't it?
So it's really important to get that one right.
So the fourth mistake that practitioners often make is, again, with the best intentions, we're trying to protect the child as much as possible, but I think that can lead then to withholding information, like important information, which the child should be told. So going back to the last mistake around a placement move, that should absolutely be communicated. Or another one is when contact's going ahead. I don't want to tell them when contact's going ahead, just in case parents don't show up. And I think we just fall into a bit of a trap then, as to we're not communicating exactly what's going on for a child in their life. We can prepare them a lot better. For those events. So it's important that we communicate that information.
And where this happens is usually around difficult topics, isn't it? So you've mentioned placement moves, but and you've mentioned contact if children are in care, but if children have parents who are separated, it could be contact arrangements between parents as well. It could be other pieces of difficult information. Something that comes up all the time, but children are referred for therapy for, is because they haven't been told there's been a bereavement in the family, and because everybody's worried about how they're going to respond, so nobody's told them, and then they come to therapy for the therapist to help the parent or carer to tell them. Or
a sibling has been born.
Yes, or a sibling has been born is another one that doesn't live with the child, so the child isn't aware of that. So it is all around these difficult conversations, but what we know is the longer you leave those conversations that actually need to be had, the more difficult it gets and the bigger the impact on the child.
And I think we run the risk of the child finding out in other means.
100%.
And then that can be even more of a difficulty for that child, because it could be inaccurate. And they found out, say, on social media or through somebody else. Sometimes children go to school and their friend tells them a piece of information which a practitioner should have communicated. So we just run the risk of those inaccuracies then being told to the child, when we could have had that conversation and relayed it exactly how we would have liked to.
So always important to have those. And we deal with the big conversations, but we deal with the big conversations because children then come to therapy because other people haven't had them. So as a practitioner, always be thinking about how you can have those more difficult conversations, which we've actually got a podcast on as well.
Yes, check that one out.
Mistake number 5 is not asking for views and feedback.
Yes, I think, again, we've said this about all the common mistakes, but it's something we come up against it a lot, where things just happen. Care plans get changed for children. It came up yesterday, actually, in our board meeting, where we were talking about how we communicate to a child they're going to receive therapy. That doesn't happen sometimes. So it's involving them in the decision making, getting their feedback, how school's going, how therapy's going. It's so important to get their views,
and feedback.
The trust with the adults around them.
Luke gave a really great example yesterday, didn't he? If we were surveying a lot of adults and asked adults, would you want to give your views on whether you wanted therapy, what would you say? And all of the adults that he surveyed said, yeah, of course I'd want to give my views. I'd want to say what I wanted from that therapy. Then why aren't we having these conversations with children about what are your views on going to attend therapy? Or it doesn't have to be therapy, it can be anything that they attend, but we should be getting their views.
Yeah, it just builds the trust and giving children an opportunity to be able to feedback, like you said, on things like therapy. We were talking about in the context of therapy yesterday, but even about school or how contact is going. If they have contact with, you know, siblings and then parents separate or grandparents, like how are all those things going? What would you like? Because I think for social workers in particular, I think they're constantly reviewing the frequency of contact. We can ask the child that to give feedback on how they think it's going. Just going back to therapy, I know we often ask our children that come to therapy, you know, when would you like your therapy session to happen or where? Especially those sessions that are happening in school. We've changed them so many times for some children because it happens on a lesson that they're really good at or they really enjoy, or it's in a break time and they don't want to spend the time with us. They want to spend the time on the yard
with their friends, and they don't want to seem different, do they? So sometimes it is we tend to go to children when we can. Sometimes children come to us, but if we can, we will accommodate going to see a child in school. But that's not always the best place for the child. They might not want to come out of a lesson to go to a therapy session. They might not want their friends to know about that. They might not want to miss out on things. And getting that feedback is so important.
We need to know that. So important. And again, it goes back to that first point that we were making about being more of an active listener. It feeds into this point, doesn't it? Like it's important that we're getting that feedback from the children, we're getting their views, so we can change things. We're not making any assumptions then.
And not change everything, but change the things that will make them more comfortable as well.
Absolutely.
So those are our 5 mistakes that practitioners make. The first is talking more than listening. The second is not doing what you say you're going to do. The third, trying to withhold information. Fourth, not planning transitions properly. And fifth, not asking for views and feedback.
So thank you for joining us for this week's episode on Tribe Talk. Hopefully you took something from that you can start using in your practice. But if you want more information about trauma-informed care in practice, then subscribe to Tribe Talk.